Welcome to the final day of the West Indies Championship, the last dance. We're at the Queen's Park Oval, where the Windward Island volcanoes, they'll be carrying the weight of many islands on their shoulders as they attempt to do what many thought impossible at the start of this season, win their first-class title. But in their way, the Barbados Pride, the defending champions, and the possibility of a reign. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joel Manning, and alongside me is Ruskin Mark to carry you through what should be a very exciting final day of action here at the Queen's Park Oval. The story just thus far: Windward Islands Volcanoes won the toss, 237 all out. In reply, Barbados Pride 227 all out. And then their second innings, the Windward Islands Volcanoes, they got to 225, and that sent the Barbados Pride a target of 236. And they now stand at 28 for 3. Certainly, it is going to be a day to remember, whether or not you are supporting the Windwards or whether or not you're supporting Barbados. We definitely say welcome, and we do hope that you enjoy. Ruskin, what have you made of things thus far in this match?
Well, it's leaning heavily towards the Windward Islands, securing a victory here. Although it's been overcast, it rained this morning. As it looks now, this is how we started yesterday in the main. It was overcast, but we still got a near full day. We had one interruption because of the rain. I remember yesterday I was telling you, you can't play the rain. You just have to play the game as it unfolds in front of you, and the rain will, rain, and you just have to adjust to that if and when it does. But outside of that, you just have to play the game as normal as you possibly can without factoring in the situation with the weather, especially since there was so much time left in the game to go. So, but I'm glad we're here today and we're getting set for a prompt start. As we welcome one and all to the Queen's Park Oval once again, where we've had some interesting developments over the years. Is this going to be another one here at the Oval? And immediately we see Larry Edward, who is starting from the top end, the end where he bowled almost non-stop on that second afternoon, and picked up 6 wickets in the process. So I think they're hoping that lightning could strike twice here.
They'll certainly be hoping for that, and hoping that the Leeward Islands can do their part over in Antigua as well. The result here, in terms of whether or not that championship will belong to the Windwards, first of all depends on the Leewards. And well, that one is a lofty swing from Drake's, and it has the legs to find its way into the boundary. So he starts the morning in very positive fashion.
It is. It was aerial for a long time. Katoy, who is on the field, couldn't really turn and chase and to get anywhere near it. It had enough legs on it to go over his head and into the boundary at a wideish long off to get the scoring started here this morning. Remember, Barbados still in with a chance here if they can string some partnerships together, so don't rule them out.
Certainly don't rule them out indeed. The defending champions, they won't be able to secure back-to-back titles, but what they can do is end on a high note. They trail by 203. He tries to go again.
He's going to have to hurry here, and the return is it's early, but again, the single was well judged in the end, and at least you're seeing some intent here, Joel, from the Barbados batsmen. They're not just prepared to try to block out the day. They're actually looking like they have intentions of going after these runs.
Yeah, that certainly has to be it. It's not a case of poke and hope at the end of the day. This game will end in a result one way or the other, and both teams should be out there going after it quite positively. I don't think we'll be here when the sun sets.
The important thing for them, though, is to always remember the target is still need a further 202. That is 33 for 3.
Yeah, at the end of a good first over for the Barbados Pride, they will need several more of those as they hunt this target and hunt victory in the last round of the West Indies Championship. It's been an interesting season for them. Started with a loss, bounced back with a win versus Leewards. They went down versus Trinidad. They came back up. And now in the final round, what will that result be? It's going to be Preston McSween to pair Larry Edward. Why do I keep saying Larry Babb? Larry Babb is a cricketer in Barbados. One who packs a good punch and swing as well. Good morning, Larry. But Larry Edward is the correct Larry that I'm referring to this morning.
This is where I think Athenes has to be spot on with his field placing. He has to give his bowlers every support in order to try to prize out wickets here this morning. And if they can pick up one or two early ones, that could change the whole complexion, body language, everything. That's a good shot. That's 4 runs. He just came onto that front foot and stroked it beautifully into the gap. And Jonathan Drake showing real intent here as he picked up his second boundary of the morning. A well executed cover drive.
Certainly well executed indeed. It was pitched up by McSween, and in the positive intent that Drakes has this morning, leans into it, picks that gap. The diving hand of Edward at cover couldn't stop it, and it runs away into the boundary. A good start for him, a good start for the Pride.
You could see McSween looking for some swing. He was pitching up, hoping that the ball would swing. It did a little bit, but it was well played in the end. Again, he's pitching up, and he could get a run here if he hurries, but they decide against it. A little bit of indecision.
This morning, overcast in the same manner that yesterday was. At the start of yesterday, Barbados put down 3 chances in the morning session. And then the Windwards, they capitalised on the chances offered and afforded. Windward will be hoping that if any chances are presented that they will do the opposite and hold them. Clipped away nicely. Another couple runs for Jonathan Drakes. Well balanced at the crease. Favours the leg side.
He's doing the heavy lifting so far this morning, and at least he's taking the lead here, trying to set the tone for the other batsmen, I would imagine. But I'm sure they have a plan as to how they are going to attack this Windward Islands lineup in terms of their bowlers. And immediately you see that man at mid-wicket withdrawn to square leg 3/4 of the way out. And immediately he comes in to play where close to where he was standing originally. But the guy's got a single all the same. So 40 now. So they quickly move on to 40 for 3. Things are moving along rather quickly this morning for Barbados. But they need to keep going.
Yeah, it certainly will take a bit of batting here on day 4 if they are to get to that total. They're certainly capable of it. Shem Holder, who came as the night watchman, facing now.
It was clipped over the head of the mid-wicket. That's going to go very close to the boundary. Rolling, and I think he pulled it back. He might have just done enough to pull it back from touching the rope. And that's excellent fielding out there in the deep. Yeah, that was like Jeremiah doing the work out there. Has a bruised knee to prove. It's all muddied up as he went sliding out there just on the rope. He pulled it just before he crashed into the rope, or went over the rope actually.
Yeah, a very committed effort from him, and you definitely will expect to see a lot of that today from the Windward Islands.
And that's a good delivery, just going across the right-hander, and just to leave him the outside edge, going through to the keeper. At the end of the over, 43 for 3.
Yeah, another good over for the Pride. I believe about 11 runs coming off of that 110, in fact. But another good productive over for them at the start, and as you mentioned, really setting the tone for how it looks like they will go about this day. We do all know that they have a whole day to bat, but I don't think that they'll be looking to take the entire day to get these runs. I think to how Leeward's chased down the runs versus Barbados at 200 plus, and for all 200 they went at over 6 runs and over. Not sure if Barbados Pride are looking to replicate that, but certainly positive is the way to go for either side this morning.
But he just has a slip, and that's silly mid off as close in catches. Edward pulls, and that delivery kept a little bit low, but again standing up tall and plays it well in the end. Hold up, I'm sure would want to stick around for a while. And there is another one of the specials. And this time he is driving it and is gone for 4, similar to what I think the umpires called it a dead ball. Yes, but it's similar to what transpired with it was Dowrich who was batting, and Dowrich played the identical shot, hit it in the identical area, and hit it for 4. But this is a no ball because that ball bumped about 7 times before it got to the batsman.
It's stuck in the hand there of Larry Edward again, and they're looking at Shem Holder like, why? But at the end of the day, as a batter, it is your choice whether or not to hit that one. Called a no ball by the umpire, and also went to the boundary. And in chasing a target, you would have to expect that any batter would take a freebie like that.
And this one heading the edge, and he finally got one to spin a little bit. We saw that yesterday. In fact, when he was batting, he padded up to one that hit the rough and came back. He was out LBW, so I would imagine he would remember that, and especially if there are left-handers in the team, he'll be searching for that rough.
An interesting question, given I'm looking at the score, both the one here on our screen and that scoreboard as well. Given that was signaled as a no ball, wouldn't they have also counted in the 4 off the bat as well to make it 5 runs off that delivery?
Yep.
Because I'm looking at both the scoreboard and
should be 5 runs plus they had 2, so it was 40 for 3 at the end of the over. They got a 5, a no ball and the 4, so that should take it to 45, and then they ran 2 just now, so that should really be 47. So Holder's doing a pretty good job so far. Not a good job of gardening, but he is gardening right now. He's making sure that the surface is as clean as possible. You don't want the ball to hit anything and do anything extra. Here he is on the back foot. That's living dangerous, and living dangerously there on the back foot because that ball was a quicker one. However, he kept it out and leaves it at 46 for 3 at the end of the over.
Yeah, another over which contained Larry Edwards' special. That ball just sticking in his hand. It'll be interesting to know whether or not it was the same type of delivery that he was trying to bowl that also stuck in his hand when he was bowling to Shane Dowrich as well in the first innings. But the Windwards will be looking to him to keep it tight as he did in that first innings. Before he started to pick up the bulk of his wickets, he was just very controlled, keeping Barbados tight, slowing down the scoring, and they will look for that as well this morning. And possibly be looking for McSween at the other end to really make some early inroads into this Barbados Pride batting lineup.
I think he's proven that he could be a prolific wicket taker, so they're really going to rely on him. In fact, he might be the workhorse here today for them, together with John. as they will try to give him every opportunity to take wickets. 2 slips and a gully, I'll have to call him, but really it's a 4th slip. And a nice shot again, but just a single to Drake, so that brings Holder onto strike. Holder is shaped very well, it must be said. He doesn't look out of depth in these settings against the frontline bowlers.
Shem Holder can certainly hold his own. He's been involved in a number of interesting partnerships over this tournament. Got a 43 versus Windwards in round number 3.
And there's a stifled appeal, but again, clearly heading down leg. But they'll get a leg by in the process, so scoreboard just ticking over, which is what Barbados would want as they try to sneak up on the Windward Islands here. I don't know if sneak up is the right word, but if they keep scoring as quickly as they are, and this is maintained for an extended period of time, by lunchtime it could be a totally different scenario. There's another good delivery, just tucking him up there just a little bit, coming back in at Drake's.
Yeah, nice movement back into Drake's on that particular occasion. We actually haven't seen the ball move that much for the morning thus far. When you compare it to what was going on a bit earlier. But a quick look at that scorecard there. Leeward Islands 115 for 6 versus Guyana. Need a further 28 runs to win. Things getting a bit dicey over there in Guyana. Guyana fighting back and knowing that should they secure the win, that would be the title for them, and this game would not necessarily be null and void, but in terms of the conversation surrounding what will be a possible first title, that goes through the door for the Windwards.
So it really keeps the interest going here now, and the players out there wouldn't know that. So they'll just have to focus on what is in front of them, while the Guyanese try their best to avoid a defeat over there, and in fact win the game themselves. 48 for 3 at the end of the over.
Yeah, at the crease for the Leewards, Kofi James, he's on 5 not out, and just joining him is Rakeem Cornwall. Cornwall's who brought it home versus the Barbados Pride here at the Queen's Park Oval. Dicey and interesting times.
But in that victory, remember, he got dropped the ball before the
Yes.
victory was actually attained. That could have made it, 9 down at that point. It would have been just the number 11 to come to the crease. It would have been very interesting. That's because they needed, 3 runs or something like that. Yeah, that's a beauty. And that one, he tried to pull the bat out of harm's way when he saw the ball turn, and it still found the bat. Luckily for him, it didn't go onto the stumps.
Yeah, the pace of that delivery was perfect from Larry Edward, and really what allowed the ball to grip out of the surface in the manner that it did. We've seen across this match and across the 3 matches actually here at the Queen's Park Oval that is slower for the most part that the bowlers bowl in terms of just finding that right pace. They've gotten results, and that was one there for Larry Edward. Good signs for him, and you would have to say good signs for the Windwards.
That's a good shot because he hit it in the gap. There is a man at mid-on, but it was well away from him and a lot straighter and down to the boundary for 4 runs. So Holder again showing that he has an idea of what he can do under these circumstances, and he's more than holding his own so far.
Yeah, fantastic shot there by Shem Holder Larry Edward. Probably just getting too close to Holder on that particular occasion. And he was equal to the task in terms of hitting it straight back down the ground past the man at what is a wideish mid-on position in the form of Ambrose. That brings up the 50 for the Barbados Pride, 52 for 3.
Again, right up. It's a late decision to come onto the front foot. It's almost as if he wanted to stay on that back foot and play it as he's probably not sure of the turn or how much turn he's going to impart. There he goes again. This is in the air, and the catch is taken. Well. He was trying to force the issue here, and that is what the Windward Islands would have been hoping for. A nice catch, running back and taking it over his head, and that means that wicket number 4 is in the books. It's 52 for 4 now.
Yeah, lovely running catch back there by Kenneth Dember. Edward once again inviting Shemholder to have a go at that one. This time, though, in terms of the length, it wasn't necessarily there in terms of the delivery that he would have played back down to mid-on, the previous delivery, or rather 2 deliveries before that. But having a swing coming off what will be the bottom end of the bat and the outer edge of that bottom end, and a good catch there by Kenneth Dember. The first wicket for the Barbados falls this morning, 52 for 4.
And that is music to the ear of the Windward Islands supporters, I would imagine, and the players, because they would want to try to take these wickets quickly and or keep taking wickets as they go along. There is that looming threat of rain at some point, so I'm sure they'll be thinking the sooner we could get this over with, the better.
Yeah, there's certainly no time like the present for them. On the flip side of it, though, still a lot of batting to come for the Barbados Pride. Striding to the crease now is young Kevin Wickham. He's shown signs of promise, and today probably is the day that he would want to deliver for his side. He was brought in the second match of the first class tournament, and given what would be a run, in inverted commas, you would have to say, across the 4 games. Batted well in partnership with Shane Dorrich when they were in trouble. And you know, he's joined Jonathan Drakes at the crease.
Well, initially they had the silly mid off, but they put him now as a forward short leg. And Wickham just stands up very upright and plays it comfortably into the offside, but he can't get a run, so it remains 52 for 4 now at the end of the over.
The end of a successful over for Larry Edward, picking up the wicket of the night watchman and Shemholder. Just a start that they would have been looking for, bringing the remainder of what will be the experienced batters in the Barbados Pride to the crease, or the notable batters, because a lot of the guys aren't necessarily experienced at the first class level. The most experienced to come would be Shane Dorrich, and should he be required today, he'll be hoping that he can put up his hand and bat well for his side. Got 100 already in this tournament. Maybe another could be on the cards for him. 184 runs needed for victory, and on the flip side, 6 wickets needed for victory. How will this game swing? Where will it go? Who will be smiling when the sun sets?
Well, McSween could have a say. And there's one coming off the inside edge and just passing between the legs, the batsman's legs and the stumps, and ends up at fine leg. Couture is down there, but again, a streaky shot indeed.
Yeah, looking to drive that one was Drakes, and coming off the inside edge of the bat, a thick inside edge, and that's what took it away from the stumps. Luckily for him and for the Pride. turns that one into the leg side to get him off the mark.
So another easy single into that space there. But again, Athenaeus, I don't know why he puts the guy back there for a new batsman. If he put him there for Drakes, I don't mind. But that mid-wicket should clearly be closer there to prevent that single and keep the new batsman on strike for as long as possible before he could settle. Off a thick outside edge, but well stopped in the slip cordon by Athenaeus himself. Doing his part here to keep the pressure on as long as possible. Nice cool conditions though, so I don't think bowlers will get tired just yet. In fact, they may think they could bowl all day in these conditions. As a fast bowler, you live for this kind of atmosphere. You feel you could swing the ball and you feel you could run in. As we see McSween is doing, he's seeking out a good line, a good length here. Keeping Drakes watchful as long as he possibly can, hoping that he maybe could throw him into a fall shot as he did in the first ball of the over, but it peeled off the inside edge and missed the stumps. So Joel, did you see that dramatic finish to the IPL opener yesterday? Down the leg side, and that's going to be 4 runs. Kotoy can't come around to cut that off. So Drakes continues to score quickly.
Yeah, just straying there was McSween onto the hips of Jonathan Drakes, and he works that one nicely. Quite an easy gift, you would have to say, especially for someone like Drakes, who is extremely strong on the leg side, strong off the legs and off of the hips. The man at fine leg couldn't get around to that one.
This one is better lined outside the off stump where you could see him searching to get to it. Played it well in the end as completes another over. 58 for 4 at the end of it.
To continue painting the dramatic story, Leewards are now 117, or rather 119, I saw it change. It's now 119 for 7. Raheem Cornwall, he's bowled by Pramal for 2. Kevin Sinclair has picked up 4 for 32, and Pramal has 3 for 41. 24 runs needed if you're Leewards. 3 wickets needed if you are Guyana. Will the fairy tale be such for Leon Johnson?
In a scenario like that, with tail enders at the crease, you favor the bowling team.
Guyana spinners certainly standing up to the task and being counted on the final day of the West Indies Championship. At the start of it, you couldn't really predict that this is what it would have been on day number 4.
I was noticing earlier they attempted a quick single and then they changed their minds. But McSween, who's at backward point, he has to be very alert for that quick single because I think they're going to seek him out. Because the field is fairly deep, the cover is fairly deep, and he is just backward of point. And if that ball is just played out into the offside, which I think is exactly what Drakes is probably telling him, you don't have to hit it hard, just drop it and run. But the fielding team, they have to be very alert to this. This time is hit firmly, a good stop. And when you feel in those positions, you're always on the move because the ball could come to you at all different angles. And Edwards probably felt he had one of his specials coming there and he decided against. And that's the area right there because they have to be so alert in that position there because, well, if it's this late in the over, they may not attempt it, you would hope. But early in the over, when Drakes wants to get back on strike, it's a good shot, but as a stifle up, but the bat was grounded. I don't think Drakes need to worry too much as the over comes to an end. As it remains 58 for 4.
Yeah, maiden over there by Larry Edward. That one struck firmly back to him off the bat of Kevin Wickham, getting a hand to it maybe. And the bat of Drakes down safely before that bail flicked up into the air in front of umpire Bassarat.
That would be a cruel way to get out, wouldn't it?
Certainly not the way that any batter really wants to go in cricket. Preston McSween to continue. An easy single out to Edward at cover. The score trickles along.
So one by one, they're just trying, although I know Drakes would much prefer to score in 4s and 2s if he can. 2s, 3s, 4s, even 6s, if it's possible. That's
away.
A short ball, yep. And that's going to be 4 runs. As you could see the effort there of Demba. He was he was not right back on the fence. He was 3/4 of the way inside, and once the ball started to curl away from him, he was struggling to catch up with it.
Yeah, short of a length there from McSween, and into position very quickly was Kevin Wickham. Got on top of it, and that was the important part. Swiveled, kept it down, and to the right of Denver at what was that backwards square leg position. He now drifts all the way back onto the boundary, does Denver.
So another wide delivery that allows the batsman Wickham to just stand up and chop it more than anything else. I thought he was trying to hit it harder, but it was a little too close, so he sort of cramped himself, and but still got another comfortable single in the process. So the score races now to 64 for 4. So they're making good, steady progress. Unfortunately, they lost that early wicket, and you don't want to lose another one too soon after that. That was a shot that you really had to put away there. The bat was much too close, even if he intended to leave it alone. The bat was way too close for that ball there, because he was almost edging it to the wicketkeeper. And I'm sure Drakes would be annoyed with himself if he was to get out edging a delivery that wide.
Certainly would have been annoyed, especially given that there wasn't much in that shot.
And standard fare, another comfortable single as they chuck through for one down to third man. So it's 65 for 4 it is now. McSween hasn't really been able to produce some of those dangerous deliveries that he's noted for so far this morning.
Certainly not been the same type of movement that was on offer for them on day number 2. I think it was the morning of day number 2.
And that's a good shot. They're going to get a single. Initially, they're going to come back for a second run. I thought Edwards had it under control and was going to intercept it, but as he tumbled over, unfortunately, he might have done his finger a little bit of damage in the process, as they were able to get 2 runs from it all. So that pushes the score on to 67 for 4 now. 25 overs completed. Wickham is moved smartly on to 8. Jonathan Drakes is on 29. He will take strike at this end as Edwards is going to continue from the top end. Barbados making good progress this morning. Would be interesting to see what the state of the game is, say, by lunchtime, and whether we're in for a dramatic turn of events here, or if the Windward Islands will prize out a couple more wickets before the interval and soldier on towards a victory themselves. Let me say good morning to Colin Murray, and nice cool conditions, Colin, the kind of conditions that you could probably bowl 10, 15 overs on the trot.
I'm not too sure, Ruskin. Good morning to you. 10, 15.
I don't mean now, you know.
Oh, you meant many moons ago. Many moons ago.
Now I would after I bowl you 1 over, I bowl you in 1 over spells.
That's it. That's right. You take me off one time.
Yep.
But it's nice cool conditions. It's a good shot. That's a really good shot. There is a man at long off, so he's going to run around to his left. Yeah, it's we had some early morning showers. I wouldn't call it showers, but like a little constant drizzle. And there's no immediate threat of rain, but certainly the scorching sun, the hot sun that has been out over the last couple of days. We are not seeing it here this morning. So I think the players would relish that. And the Windward Islands trying to press on here for victory. The good thing is Barbados, they've added 40 runs in just about even time. And the man responsible for that has been Jonathan Drakes.
And they got another single. Wickham just coming forward, and the ball sort of kissing off the outer edge and going down to a short third man.
I think they've come out very positive this morning. I think they've decided that, look, and they're going to try and chase down these runs, but they can't just prod and push, and they're going to try and attack, especially Larry Edwards. Because when you look back at Larry Edwards in basically that Barbados first innings, nearly 29.4 overs, 13 maidens, 6 for 43. You know, it's almost telling you that a little more again, you would have had to say he was unplayable. But he started off well this morning, and they've picked up the wicket of Holder. He picked up the wicket of Holder, but really and truly the night watchman. So you have to think it's not the frontline batsman, which they would have wanted to get. The end of the over there, 69 for 4. Let's have a look at what's happening. The Leeward Islands, well, what a turnaround. 123 for 8. That is really a serious turnaround.
They still have some work to do. There's still another 20 runs.
Yeah, there's still another 20 runs with 2 wickets intact. But from 81 for 1 to 123 for 8, Guyana must feel that they can get those 2 wickets before they get the 20 runs. What a turnaround. Of course, the Windward Islands wouldn't know what's going on over there. And they must very well be thinking that the Leeward Islands would be doing them a favor. But so far, it looks like if they will have to just do what they have to do here, and just hope that the last pairing in the Leeward Islands can get the runs. But what a turnaround, a complete collapse, basically. But Denver is going to be introduced into the attack. He just had 2 overs yesterday, 1 for 1. And Preston McSween, not successful this morning. Very attacking field for Denver. There's a slip leg gully, and then there's that forward short leg. So we'll have to the off spinner bowling from that Brandler pavilion end. It's got a 4-5 field, 4 men in the off, 5 on the on. But those 2 in those catching positions at a forward short leg and that leg gully. Single for Wickham. So the total moves up by 1 now to 70 for 4. And the Pride, they require another 166 for victory with 6 wickets intact.
And they're going about it in a very methodical, but they're also looking to put themselves in position as quickly as possible. And when he had to dig that one out and try his best there. So
I think Powell is still at the crease in that Leeward's game.
no, he's out.
He's out?
He's out for 61. He didn't have days overnight.
Yeah. And
2 ducks, Devon Thomas and Hamilton.
who's doing the damage? Pumal? Pumal has picked up 3 wickets.
Sinclair also has 3.
So we're going to keep a half an eye on that. Because if Guyana were to win, then that's it. No matter what happens here. Runs for Drakes. It's a good shot. He was on that front foot and working it past mid-wicket. That's good running as they pick up 2 more runs.
It's good fielding as well. Kotoy chased from way down the backward square and really almost ran into wideish, almost a wideish long on position, more like mid-wicket, deep mid-wicket, and rifled a return, but the batsman was too quick to complete the second run, but he covered a lot of ground. And here he is now coming into fielding again. Son as a substitute.
So the end of the over from Denver, and 73 for 4. Wickham is on 10. Drakes is on 33. And that is in fact Drake's just his highest score for the season is 36 before this game. So that will be some sort of, if he gets past that 36, it would be a little bit of a milestone for him.
I think another wicket fell in Guyana. So it's 9 wickets
9
down
now.
Yep.
Well, and they're still in search of 17 runs. Well, what a turnaround there. I think the Windward Islands players would be absolutely dumbfounded to hear that score. But they can only do what they can here. But it seems that 17 runs to win with the last pair, it doesn't augur well.
Jeremiah Louis, we know, could bat, but it's whether Spencer could stay with him. Just ball almost. It almost went past the bat there. And that's part of the, I suppose, the vagaries of a 4-day pitch. You can expect 1 or 2 of those. So we're beginning to hear the chatter coming back now as they try to encourage Edward.
Apparently Guyana have just won.
Yep.
They've bowled out the Leeward Islands. We'll just update that shortly. So no matter what happens here, now
Guyana the champions.
Guyana the champions.
Yep. It's Spencer who is out. Sinclair, LBW to Sinclair.
Well, you can imagine the scenes there
125
now.
all out.
The scenes in at the Providence. Because Guyana were never really in control of that game. And except today. Suppose you have to say maybe they had, when they were batting in the second innings at 130 for 5, all seemed lost.
That's another over. NCI 73 for 4, but in Guyana, they bowled out the Leeward Islands for 125 to win that game. Kevin Sinclair, 12 overs, 3 maidens, 33 runs, 6 wickets. And Veerasamy Permaul, 15 overs, 1 maiden, 44 runs and 3 wickets. So they were the principal destroyers of the Leeward Islands. And I suppose it's fitting that they end with a victory.
Yep, certainly is.
To secure the title. And no doubt Leon Johnson, after announcing his retirement, would be happy to go out on a high, an extreme high.
Oh, that goes past.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he touched it.
We'll have to wait and see if there's a signal. They're going to come back for 3. Let's wait on the umpire. Anthony is the man giving chase. Buys. Mm-hmm. So, didn't get a touch. So 3 more to the total. That goes up to 76 now.
Question is, when that news filters through the team, how will they respond? Because that's the one thing, you don't want them to just go flat.
Yeah.
And, because you know for a moment you're right there, and for yet another year, it doesn't materialize. And you're seeing right there in that position there, Kareem Hodge, that's where he almost picked up that superb catch last night to get rid of Drakes. He just couldn't hold on to it in that leg gully position. And Drake survived. And that would have come at a time when the Barbados was just trying to survive without losing any more wickets. But he survived, and he's still there, actually. Jonathan Drake's on 33 now from 60 deliveries. And Kevin Wickham, who's come in, is on 10 from 15.
He's getting some turn, but his line, Ruskin, is certainly not good.
Yep.
He's getting turn, but he's starting just, I would say, just outside the line of the leg stump and turning further down the leg side. That's no use. It's the end of the over from Denver. He's yet to get that right of the line right. So he's now completed 4 overs, 1 for 5. And the Barbados Pride, they are 76 for 4.
And they're doing well. I'm sure they'll just, like I said, they'll probably just try to keep it going the way they are. And maybe by the lunch and interval, providing they don't lose too many wickets, I suppose, well, whether they lose any wickets or not, they'll still have to do an assessment at the lunch break, and then see what approach is needed after that, based on the amount of runs still required. Right now, they needed a further 160.
Here's Larry Edward again, bowling his second delivery of a new over. And 1 for 21 now from 8.2. Main destroyer in the first innings.
They might go for the single. They will get it now. The fielding is just bobbled it there a little bit. And McSween not able to keep it under control. And the batsman able to scamper a quick single. The ball seemed to just curl away from him. And he had problems holding on to it. keeping it in front of him. And that's another nicely flighted delivery right up. Now he's bowling Colin exclusively around the wicket, left arm around. And I'm wondering if at some point he should go over the wicket just to see if we could turn the batsman around a little bit.
Thing is, he's had all his success from around the wicket. So I think he's just more or less biding his time, so to speak. Just trying to get that, just needs to get a little closer to the off stump. And at the moment, he's just a little bit too wide of that off stump. Needs to get a little closer and mix up his deliveries at the end of the over. It's 77 for 4.
And it's a good approach by the Bajan batsmen. They're not rushing too much, but they're just trying to play each ball on merit, trying to accumulate as many runs as possible, and trying to see if they can just to look at the situation here. Demba is going to try again. They really want to keep taking wickets if they can. There's another ball just fended down. Yep, that's a better line.
Yeah,
Instead
that's
of
right.
starting leg stump, we should start more middle and off and turn into the right-hander, and that will bring the leg slip and the forward short leg into play.
Loud appeal goes up, that's out.
He was swinging across the line of the ball, and that is the breakthrough there. We were now talking about the change of the line, and that one was pretty much off on middle stump. He swung right across it and missed it and was out plumb in front. So that is the end of Wickham. He goes for 11. It's 77 for 5.
Yeah, not a good shot at all. We were talking, yes, Ruskin, look, let's have a look here at the replay from Denver. He's just giving it a little bit of air. Well, that's dead on, isn't it?
Yeah, he missed it. That's the thing. He missed the ball completely and paid the price for it. Covered all the stumps.
Yeah, he should have really been looking to on drive. But better line there now, as we kept saying, Denver was just outside the line of the leg stump. He's getting some turn, but now he's pitched that ball on middle and leg, or maybe more middle stump, and didn't turn it, more or less just straightened. And there was Wickham looking to pull it, didn't make contact, and that was his downfall. So he goes for 11, 77 now for 5. It brings skipper Shane Dorridge to the crease, and you would expect that if Barbados Pride need to win this game, Ruskin, he has to be there at the end.
Well, you have to really bat through. Shane Dorridge is, we know, is a quality batsman, and they're going to be relying on him to really dig in here. Now the substitute fieldsman came on with some refreshments there at the fall of that wicket. I would want to think he would have passed on the message to the team about the result in Guyana.
If I was him, I would not.
You wouldn't tell them.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell them. I wouldn't tell them. Not now. Let them come in at lunchtime, and you tell them at lunchtime and said, okay,
for all the fellas
fine.
to tap you up and tell you, you could have told me that before.
Yeah, I'm not going to take a message out, guys, you know, Guyana won. No.
Have a drink.
Yeah, I am not going to be the bearer of bad news. You know. That's a good shot.
Yep.
I'm certainly not, they don't need to tell them that now. Let them go through until the next hour and, fight the game, get the wickets. Suddenly if they find out that Guyana's won, it may deflate them slightly. And they may very well say, well, what am I fighting this for now? It's a strange thing. I mean, yes, they still want to win, I would presume.
Yep.
As a professional, they would want to win. Mm-hmm. But, it must play on their mind slightly if you find out that, hey, Guyana has won. We see now some added pressure. Man's coming more at a short mid-wicket. Very, very short. Maybe looking for that uppish drive from Drakes. He certainly drove that one nicely out to cover. He's looked pretty good today. Jonathan Drakes.
He's timing the ball very well. Other than a couple shots on his legs. There was another one that he's just playing, and sometimes he doesn't get totally to the pitch of the ball, and he still goes through the shot. And that's the second one that we've seen come between the bat and the pad, hitting the inside edge and just trickling past the stumps. It's the end of the over, though. It's 78 for 5.
And that's the problem there. You hit the nail on the head. He wasn't to the pitch, but he went for the drive. I think he's a very attack-minded player, Jonathan Drakes. And I think a lot of the times that is his downfall. I mean, you look at before this game started, Jonathan Drakes averaging 15. And he's batting 3 and 4 for Barbados. 8 innings, 110 runs before this with a high score of 36. You don't expect that from your number 3 and number 4 batsman. But I think it's because, let's look at Edward starting a new over. That's a good shot from Dorich. That's well fielded. Yeah, you don't expect that from you expect better returns from your number 3 and number 4. But at the moment, he's just... And I just think it's his attacking nature. Mm-hmm. He tends to want to attack, and sometimes he picks the wrong ball.
That's a beauty. Did it touch the edge?
Up, not out.
Wicketkeeper seems confident that he did.
And Dorich is having a stare at him, as if to say, well, what's wrong with you? But it seemed to turn. There was a lot of turn on offer there from Edwards. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's a lot of turn. That didn't seem to take the edge of the bat. Walcott was convinced. But umpire Bassarat says not out. That's a full toss. Should get the treatment. He didn't time it well. Seemed to hit high up on the bat. And they've gone for the single. That's all they'll be.
I think Dorich must have been telling him, you need to get glasses.
Not sure. I'm not sure if Dorich should have told him that. Dorich is not a very big man, Ruskin. He's got to be careful. But mind you, Walcott and Dorich about the same size.
Yes.
So I think if there's to be a boxing match, both of them about the same sort of featherweight,
straw weight, and they probably would claim a pound or less more in the weighing. That's a good delivery. You could see him trying to really get it to turn. It's not biting as much. But he's getting a little bit of turn that just keeps the batsman honest here.
Well played by Dorich to end by Drakes to end the over. And it's 79 now for 5, and the Pride still need 157. Game nicely poised, Ruskin.
Still a lot to play for here.
Yeah, and...
I wanted to ask you something about this as the season kind of comes to a close. Based on what you've seen, who you would think are the players, if you were to pencil in maybe 5 names that you feel might be ready for the step up. You could probably even pick one maybe from out of the hat that probably nobody's been talking about. And who knows, if given a chance, you feel might be able to go on to do great things to the West Indies.
That's a very, very tough question.
That's another good delivery. And I feel Shane Dorich is probably going to bring out the broom here. And because with the man at forward short leg and that leg gully, I don't think he wants to just poke and prod there and get an inside edge onto the pad.
And there's that short mid-wicket as well. Well, that's well played. He's just pushing that past the bowler. Good all timing. Yeah, it's so tough. It's I mean, I can tell you off the bat, one is Athens.
Right.
He's to me a definite that has to be given the opportunity.
Jordan, another one.
Akim Jordan, yeah, he's probably another one. But I'm looking for somebody with a little bit more pace. His accuracy is good, his line is good, his length is good. But I think at the international level, you need a little bit more pace.
Does Joel qualify? Because he looked pretty quick coming up here this morning.
No, I'm afraid he doesn't qualify. Yeah, he looks. No, he doesn't qualify. Just looking at him, Ruskin. Forget about his running and his movement. Just looking at him, he doesn't qualify. But yeah, Athens is certainly one. I'm trying to go through some of the. I'm thinking of some of the players. I'm looking at. I'm thinking of the Guyana team. When you go through the Guyana team, there was a lot of talk about the young opener Nandu, but he hasn't really got 100 in the first game and hasn't kicked on.
Sense, yeah.
The Barbados Pride, nothing really to offer in terms of their batting lineup. And you look at probably Dorich is probably the leading player in that team with maybe McCaskey and Mosley. But they're so inconsistent, and that's the problem.
Across the board.
Yeah. I think, Athens has been the most consistent of the lot, even though he got a note in the innings here. But the end of the over from Denver, it's 80 for 5. Yeah, Leewards, Devon Thomas, who had the opportunity and I saw him play against Australia, and he looked he looked comfortable. He looked all right. Let me put it like that. He's come into the regional game with the Leewards and has done nothing, absolutely nothing. Then there's Casey who came back with the Leewards team. He's another one who has really not done much. So, I really feel for the West Indies selectors. I know Desmond Haynes is here.
But this boy has done fairly well. I don't think he's Kieran Powell. Do you go back to Kieran?
Well, that's the thing.
Not necessarily to open the batting.
Yeah.
Because I think he may have to bat at 3 if you're even considering him.
Well, the problem really stems from the West Indies 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're just not consistent. When you think of Reefer at 3, and I don't know how he's got there. To be batting at number 3. And then you have Blackwood, you have Roston Chase, who is really, early in his Test career, he seemed to be, you'd say, well, this could be one for the future, going to have a nice long career. But he's gone off the boil. He gets runs now and again. So, you're really looking, and I would keep Mayers in the team just simply because of his bowling. I'm not going to say that he's going to make runs every time he goes to the crease. But, I think he's a useful bowler, maybe coming in at 6. But then you will say then, you've got Holder. How many all-rounders would you play in the team? To me, you need specialist batsmen.
But we don't have that.
That's the problem. The cupboard is so bare, and it's a shame.
But if you had to make an investment in a youngster, who do you invest in?
I don't know why you suddenly
decided. Not with your own money.
With my money, I don't know why you are asking me all these difficult questions on a Saturday morning. And I was saying I didn't sleep well last night.
And this morning,
and this morning, and I had a rotten morning. It's the end of the over. It's going to be a refreshment break here because it's 81 for 5. As Drakes is on 33 and Dorich is on 4.
But yeah, I will pose the same question and you can have that discussion with Joel.
I'm not having that discussion.
You'll have to have the discussion with Joel.
No, I'm not.
Because you didn't want to pick him in the first team. So
No, I was not. I was not.
Let you
Did you see how he ran across the ground? I
But
wouldn't
that is
put-
why I was trying to
I wouldn't
consider
even
him.
I wouldn't even pick him as 12th man. Because he can't feel. Looking at him, the ball. Anyway.
Joel, the question is, who, if you had to make a short list of five players who are not in the West Indies setup per se, and she's given me a whole thing. He doesn't seem to be able to identify five names.
Cannot come
so
up
maybe
with
you could help him.
The
And
cupboard,
I told him he could
listen
pick
to me.
somebody out of left field who you would invest in.
Listen to me.
Somebody who you feel like how they invested in Malcolm Marshall, Holding, and some of those other
Yeah,
guys.
the guys
Wayne
you
Daniel.
hear those names.
But they were not big household names before.
But you
and they
saw
got
that
the chance.
potential. You saw that potential from early. Michael Holding, as a youth player, playing for Jamaica youth team, you knew that was something special. Malcolm Marshall, playing for Barbados youth team, you knew that was something special. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything else that's special. Yes, Athanaze. I really think Athanaze is probably the only one that you can look at and try and develop him. You know, he's got to work hard at his game. He's got to cut out some of the nonsensical shots that he plays. You know, but he has the guy has ability. He has talent. There's no doubt. But you look through. We can go through the teams one by one. Joel can pull his book, and we can go through these teams one by one. And you really Sinclair, Kevin Sinclair is one that maybe you could look at. He's got an opportunity, and hasn't really showed much. Nandu, we talked about Nandu opening. He got 100, and then what has he done after that? You know, Melius, Kamani Melius, 192 runs this guy makes against the Red Force, and can't make a run after that. But the Red Force seems to get, how should I put it? The Red Force seems to make players. Because look at McCaskey. McCaskey, 92 and 55 not out, and he can't make a run after that. 22, 26, 21, 20, 15. That's runs. No, it's ridiculous. It is really, and I do feel, you know, we criticize the West Indies selectors, and we say this one should be thing and this, but look at the cupboard. The cupboard has nothing but a set of ants. It is bare. And it is, you know, I am saying this, with a very heavy heart. You all don't understand this, you know. You look at this. This is our regional games. This is our regional games, and the only one man I could honestly say, let's give him a go. Let's try him. Is Atherton? The man Athanaze him. Atherton. Maybe we should bring back Atherton. But you know, the man has scored over five. How much runs he scored? 588. At least he's showing some sort of consistency, averaging 73. Yeah. Yes, he made naught in this innings, but he's not Jesus Christ. He must fail at some time. You know what I mean? But outside of that, you tell me, Kavim Hodge, 354. Ambrose, do you go back to Hodge? Do you go back to Ambrose? I mean, I don't know. He come here. Why does he ask me this question on Saturday morning? I'm already having a rotten day. Okay, I've had a rotten morning, Joel. A rotten morning, and he's just trying to what? Make it worse for me? Anyway, Joel, good morning to you again. How are you?
Good morning, Colin. I'm certainly in a better mood than you. I can promise you that. You're about as overcast as the day.
Well, it's not really overcast. It's just the sun is not out. It's trying to peep out, but it's not out. Guyana. Congratulations to Guyana. Fantastic comeback from them. I did predict it actually. I said that do not write off Guyana. They're that type of team, and then the Leewards as well. How many times we've seen this, that the Leewards, do well, get in front, and then just not able to finish off a job. I mean, even against the Windwards in the game when they got first innings points and then they collapsed in the second innings. But give Guyana credit. Guyana is a team that, how should I put it? Guyana is they're a fighting bunch. They're a real together unit, and led well by Leon Johnson. And I think it's kudos to him. Here's Denver as we restarting after that refreshment break.
Yeah, it certainly is the fairy tale story for the retirement of Leon Johnson. He would have to say a faithful soldier for the Guyana Harpy Eagles.
Yeah, he has been, and getting. I think that really crowns his first class career now. You know, it's he's left as captain of the Ghana winning team, and now it's going to be interesting. You know, who they now look to lead their team, because that's another problem we have in the Caribbean, Joel. That's another big problem we have: leadership. You look around, and the regional boards are all going back to players that you feel, well, they're not going to lead a West Indies team in the future. You know, so that's something too. The regional boards have got, you know, when you pick teams and you pick leaders, you also got to think beyond your regional team. You also got to think of West Indies cricket. Well, that's in there, but away from anyone. It goes down to long on. So McSween has to run around to do the fielding, so they pick up a single. Yeah, you've got to think of that. And when you look around, there's no real leader, you know, for the various teams, especially at 4-day level. And again, the Windward Islands at the end of the over from Denver, so 82 for 5. The Leeward Islands, you know, they've gone on the front foot because they could have easily given it to a more experienced player, but they decided to try a young man, give it to Athenaeus, see how, you know, how he will lead the team, you know, and to me it's worked well. I mean, I haven't seen him enough to, you know, to look at him and say, well, tactically he's this or tactically he's not, you know, what he's lacking. But at least he's led the team, and up to today, they were well on course to win the championship.
Yeah, certainly were on course before the collapse by the Volcanoes this morning. Lost 9 wickets in the space of 40 minutes this morning. The spinners of Guyana doing the trick. Kevin Sinclair picked up 5. Off commentary, I had a chance to just go and peep at the shots that were played, and you might almost say that they were less than desirable.
Yeah.
But action here at the Queen's Park Oval. They will not be able to win the title, but what they can do is end it on a high note.
That's
and
right.
certainly their season deserves it based on how they've played cricket thus far, led ably by Athenaeus. On one of the practice days, I had a chance to just head into the nets, and I was impressed by how Athenaeus, even after having had his knock, took the time to almost coach through.
That's a good shot. He's lifted it high over extra cover. Give him a little bit of air by Larry Edward, but Dorich had the room in which to just rock back.
Yeah, tossed it up there.
Yeah.
Did Larry Edward. Just touch outside the off stump as well. And Shane Dorich, he plays spin well and played that delivery well. Inside out, over cover and into the boundary. But yeah, I was mentioning the fact that Athenaeus took the time to kind of coach through one or two of the lower order batters. There was him and Kevin Hodge that took time out, and I thought that was very good on them, because yes, as a coach's job, you have an assistant coach, you have some experienced players there as well, but as the captain, as one of the senior men in Kevin Hodge, they literally in partnership and in pair, you know, walk through one of the lower order batters. And then to just how they went about the training session, I thought that from what I saw, 86 for 5 at the end of that over, because having gone through rounds 1 and 2 and seeing, let's say, the Jamaica setup, seeing the Guyana setup, the Barbados setup, Trinidad setup coming over here. I felt that the camaraderie and the manner in which they went about even just their practice sessions to me was, I wouldn't necessarily say better, but in terms of the optics of it and how the players gelled and the conversations that they were having and the way that they're playing around with each other, because at the end of the day, personalities also matter. I know every team will have that look, but that doesn't mean that the team is not gelling together nicely. But in terms of their optics, it was nice to see, how easygoing things were for them, how much they enjoyed the process, even when they came out on mornings to warm up, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can see the what I like about them, and I haven't been as close to them as you have been, but just watching them from afar, you see there's a sort of team spirit in the team. I mean, when Denver, for example, took that catch, everybody took off towards him. Yes, it was a great catch, but just how they all rallied around him was super. And again, and we talk about coaches and managers and things, but that's also the captain has a big part to play in that. And I'm really happy about this young man. I'm really looking forward. That's runs just a single for Drakes as he plays it down to long on. McSween is there. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Athenes. That. In terms of an international career, when he does make the breakthrough, thing is, he has to realize that's when the hard work really starts.
Yeah, certainly hard work will start there. He's a young man and certainly has a lot of time left in cricket, but also looking at the mental aspect of it, he looks like mentally he's ready to take on that type of a challenge. Worked away for a single there past Kevin Hodge. Even the way the players talk about him and how much respect they have for him once he's at the crease also probably tells you the story that they do think that he too can be somebody that should go far, can go far, as long as he continues to apply himself, as long as he continues to work on the mental aspect of his game as well, because that's an area that there's several questions looming around when it comes to a lot of players in the West Indies setup.
Well, he got away with that, Drakes. Wasn't in control of it. Came down the track. Not sure where he was trying to hit that. Somewhere over mid-wicket. Came off more the inner part of the bat. Went high out towards backward square leg. So he gets a single. So he goes to 35. And it's now 89 for 5. Barbados Pride still need, 147 for victory.
Yeah, still in the hunt. The Barbados Pride.
Yeah, again, and when you look back at some of the real performers, it's guys who have, I don't want to use the word tried and tested already, but, the Powells, the Hodge, and, Darren Bravo. Do you go back to Darren Bravo with a couple centuries and a half century this year? I mean, there's no doubt he's a class player. But he's now 34? Is it a stopgap measure? So you put him in and hope that some of the young players around him will learn. So it's a really difficult situation that the selectors find themselves in. And I read somewhere today in one of the papers, Ruskin Mark normally buys papers, which is good on him. I read that David Furlong, the coach of the Red Force, that's a head up in the air. Oh, he's gone stumped. Well, that's great work. Absolutely fantastic work from Walcott, because Drake's, his head was in the air. He was looking to hit it over extra cover. That back foot must have just dragged slightly out of the crease. Walcott took the bails off. It was a superb bit of stumping, because the appeal went up and the umpire quickly raised his finger to indicate that Drakes is gone for 35, superbly stumped by Walcott off the bowling of Edward. So he's now picked up his second wicket, and Drake's goes again for 35. And that's the other problem you look at, Joel. Let's have a look at that stumping.
Yeah, good work behind the stump there by Tevin Walcott. Larry Edward, he strikes again this time. That length, Drake's looking to go over the top, and smart work, you would have to say, by Tevin Walcott. He's been good behind the stump all day, and he's been rewarded for it. And that's what it means to them. That's what it means to the team. The 6-wicket down for the Pride, 89 for 6.
89 for 6. Yeah, I was reading where David Furlong was talking about, I think he was being questioned as being the coach and chief selector, chairman of selectors, and he felt that, it's not a problem, he can do both jobs and that type of thing. But I'm not going there. What he said, which to me made a lot of sense, he talked about going back to 2 rounds of cricket. That you've got to, and the West Indies board, they've got somehow, and Dr. Shallow, if you're hearing me, and Mr. Bassarat, the new vice president, you've got to go out there and find a major sponsor for this 4-day cricket somehow, because that's the only way that it will work. You've got to get out there, get sponsorship, and get these guys playing more cricket. Here's Primus facing his first delivery, until we do that, we're gonna continue. These guys can't play five rounds of cricket. It's crazy. Well, I shouldn't say they can't, because they're doing it. But that's a loud. It's gone. Loud appeal, not out this time. So that must have spun. But they felt that, obviously they felt that he took the edge. But umpire Bassarat this time, umpire Bassarat didn't agree.
Yeah, a lot of pressure out there, and that pressure is being piled on by Larry Edward. It gripped and turned and actually missed the outside edge, but certainly exciting times here at the Queen's Park Oval. The Windwards, they are sensing something. They're in the hunt. Their tails are up. The wind is blowing, and it's blowing in the direction of the Windward Islands.
I tell you what, Joel, it must have hit something, because everybody went up together. That was amazing. That couldn't be rehearsed. Primus is not going to stick around. He's not going to prod, and he's going to look to get after the bowling. But a good over from Larry Edward. He's now bowled 13 overs, 2 for 28, picking up the wicket of Drake's. It's now 89 for 6. The Pride still 147 runs away from victory, but only 4 wickets intact.
Yeah, the wickets are going down, but the runs aren't necessarily going anywhere. It is certainly tense times out there, and the question is, can skipper Shane Dowrich, in partnership now with Primus, weather the storm, or will the Windwards wrap up things here at the Queen's Park Oval and jump themselves to what will be second spot on the table, or rather keep themselves at second spot on the table?
It's funny, Joel, when Ruskin Mark was talking and started to mention names like Holding and Marshall and these kind of guys. That's a really lovely shot. It's a beautiful off drive, because the man at mid-off, he's sort of holding his hands now, saying, well, where did that pass? It went to his right. He's a little bit wide at mid-off, and now he's asking Athanase, should he come a little straighter? Yes, he's pointing that ball, it was struck beautifully by Dorridge. It is lovely shot, timed it beautifully, and the placement was good as well, because he actually hit it to the right of mid-off. What a good shot. And it takes you back to under 19 cricket and youth cricket, and that's where you now have to start to look at some of these youngsters. You know, yes, I know you have the special ones, Holding, Marshall, these guys coming up from under 19. But you know, that's where your next crop is going to come from. And you got to start to look at them from a regional perspective and get them into the teams, get them in. But you know, maybe they're not coming through. And the other problem you face with the under 19 setup, and I'm not sure what's going to happen this year, they've stopped playing 3-day cricket. In the old days, and I'm going back to the old days, Ruskin Mark time. Yeah, they used to play 3 days cricket. Well, what's happening here? Yeah, that's what he's. Oh yeah, that's what he's giving the impression, that the bat went onto the pad. But these guys,
a lot of pressure
let's
out
have a look
there.
let's have a look at it.
Things are bubbling. The pot is being stirred. And the Windward Islands Volcanoes are asking questions of umpire Ramdani, asking questions. And in fact,
it looked to me like the bat hit the pad, but
I'm not going to say anything because I didn't see it properly. I was hoping for another review.
Yeah, you want another review? You want a slow-mo, you want Snicko, you want everything.
I want it magnified as well, just to make sure that I'm making the accurate assessment. Given the evidence.
You want another angle? Joel, my word.
But no, things are certainly boiling up.
Primus is not gonna stick around too long, you know. He's when I say he's not gonna stick around pushing and prodding. He's either gonna hit it into the Caribbean stand or gonna miss it completely. There he goes, and that just beat the off stump. And Walcott didn't hold on to it, but no damage done. And it's the end of the over from Denver. So he's completed his 9th over, 2 for 16. He's bowled well. Let's have a look at the
Picked the wrong length on that particular occasion. Too full to play that sweep shot there by Primus. And narrowly missing that off stump on that particular occasion.
So 94 for 6. As Dorich is going to take strike, to no doubt Larry Edward is going to continue.
And 94 for 6 here at the Queen's Park Oval.
This man is showing me a lot of full-time scores here in the English Premier League. Joel, do you follow the English Premier League?
Occasionally,
okay. You know, well, it's a big thing here in Trinidad. Yeah, it's a big thing here in Trinidad, and no, we're not. I'm not going to call the scores. Just I'm not going to score it. It's no need to do that. Absolutely no need to do that. But I'm going to pass the phone back to Ruskin. And if Ruskin wants, when he comes on here, he can do that. Nice arm ball there from Larry Edward.
It's really been about that control from Larry across this game. Usually say that surfaces maybe tend to suit bowlers a little better here and there.
Well,
and you also asked that if it doesn't necessarily suit what might be your natural game, a quick single, but gets home in the end. You ask that they make certain adjustments, and that really tells you about the skill of a bowler. But I do really think that maybe the surface might have suited his style of bowling a little better, but not just that, because yes, it might suit you, but you must also still execute. And I've found that Larry Edward has really executed between what would have been the first innings, and he just continued on into the second innings here today. He's really been bowling well, and he's really been controlled, and he's been putting it relatively in the same area for the most part, and then veering it from there, whether or not it's been varied in terms of the pace, varied in terms of the length, and it's really been good stuff from him.
Oh, that's another very good ball. Squares up. Primus seemed to have come in to him and then as it pitched, spun away. And that was a quick delivery as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he pushed that one through a bit as well. It was just back of a length, and it's been interesting because that one gripped a little more than we've seen a lot of these faster deliveries grip on this surface as well. However, it is day 4, and we did expect that it would be a lot more turn on offer for the spinners. Hence why when looking at the total required for Barbados Pride, you knew that it would be a bit of a mountain, and it would require a lot of batting from them if the Volcanoes bowlers could get it right here at the start of the day. Thus far, they have, and they've forced 1 or 2 false shots from the Barbados Pride.
Well, it gets a thick outside edge. They're probably going to pick up 1. Yes, they're not going to chance the second as McSween gets to that ball quickly. So Primus is off the mark finally with that single. Tends to like the ball coming onto the bat, Primus. I don't think he too likes the spin.
Not necessarily doesn't like the spin, but maybe would prefer the off spinner in terms of what would be that natural swing of Primus, which usually goes from long on towards deep mid wicket. Another quick single, good running by this pair, but with the ball going against him, it almost takes out what would be that slog sweep from him, especially with how it's turning out to the surface. 97 for 6, certainly a lot more risk in that shot, especially if it is bowled much slower by Larry Edward. He stands a better chance if Larry Edward was to be quicker, because it wouldn't necessarily turn as much, probably a bit flatter as well. Gets under it, maybe could work with the slog sweep, but in terms of how Larry Edward has been bowling, it's not necessarily into what would be the natural swinging arc of Primus. Good stuff from him, and testing times, and you really would like to think that even though you are not being fed what will be your strong suit, your pet shot, you can make adjustments here and work the ball through cover until you get what is yours at the end of the day, because this total is certainly still not out of the reach of the Barbados Pride. 139 now needed for victory here on day number 4, round number 5 of the West Indies Championship.
So Denver, he starts his 10th over, 2 for 16. So in addition to both men picking up wickets, they've been very, very economical.
Yeah, they've certainly kept things tight from both ends, and that's something as a batter you don't necessarily like, because if you can't get from one, you look to get from the other end. But Denver's really bowled well. He's adjusted, I would have to say, across this match.
Dorich has looked pretty comfortable as well since he's come in. Doesn't seem to be too bothered at either end.
He favours the spin.
Yeah.
Does Shane Dorich. Bats quite well against it. Trusts his defence for the most part. This situation wouldn't necessarily be pressure for Dorich, given the experience that he has, and he knows that he can take things in sessions, take things in segments.
Loud appeal goes up, but not out.
Yeah, what would really add the pressure to Dorich would be the other end. Denver, probably maybe pitching that one, maybe just a wrong leg, outside leg, yep, and then turning down the leg. So a lot of turn on offer for Denver here this morning.
Another loud appeal goes, and Dorrit stands there now, and hand on hip, he can't believe it. Now, if it took the bat, Athena's caught it at slip, and if it didn't take the bat, then he goes LBW. So we'll just have to have a look. But Dorich is not happy. He's walking off, but not happy at all. Joel, let's have a look.
Good stuff again by Denver. That one, this time pitching closer to the middle and off, and goes across him. It actually looks like it takes the back pad of Shane Dorich, so the appeal could be for LBW. And if so, umpire Ramdania judges him out. Leg before wicket. Shane Dorich, well, he certainly could not believe that one, but he has to go. And with it, the boat rocks evermore for the Barbados Pride, 97 for 7.
And look at Denver now, 3 for 16. Where's Ruskin Mark? Good. Ruskin Mark is going to join you, Joel, for the next 25 minutes or so to the luncheon interval. If it lasts that long, the way things are going.
Well, Akeem Jordan will be hoping to ensure that things do last that long. Jokingly this morning, before play got started, he had a bat and gloves in hand. Stood at the end that umpire Basrat is at right now, looked at me as I was sitting on the media center balcony and raised both bat and gloves to signify that he had just reached a landmark. He might want to do that here today in real time, as Barbados Pride are under the cosh, so to speak, under pressure. There are holes in the barrel, and can he be the one to plug them? 97 for 7. You would have to think that staring at this scenario, it favors the Volcanoes. They need 3 wickets to secure a victory. Barbados Pride, on the other hand of the table, they need 139 runs for victory. They say never in cricket. What will we say today?
That's one off the edge. Whoa! And Primus was beaten all ends up there. The ball actually hit the edge, and Primus really didn't know exactly where it went to, but luckily for him, he picked up 2 runs. And if they were running hard, look at it again, he was all square, hoping it would spin into him, but it went right across him.
Yeah, good stuff again by Larry Edward, and once again the hallmark of this is the pace of the delivery, and it flies past the outstretched hand of Athenes. He can't grab it. Back and punches this one. Does Primus a bit flatter there by Larry Edward. 2 for 33 his returns. He picked up 5 in the first innings. That means he's got 7 in the game so far.
Actually, it was at 6 in the first.
Sorry, yes, 6 in the first innings
Try and
indeed.
don't rub the spinner wicket no more.
I would never rob
Yeah.
Larry Edward. Never. Tossed up, but can't get past the left hand of Denver. Or rather Ryan John.
And John, yeah, it would be interesting to see how Primus negotiates its way out of this little predicament that he finds himself, and whether or not he's going to show restraint or if he's going to go guns blazing. Right now he's in a little bit of a pickle here. He's not quite sure. He's not reading the turn or lack thereof at times. And it has him a little bit unsettled, it seems.
Yeah, just feeling for it at the moment, and it really tells you probably how well these spinners are bowling in tandem at the moment.
But he's the kind of batsman that will just like throw caution to the wind and just unleash a couple of big drives and move on. 99 for 7 at the end of that one. Barbados really needs him to do something out of the ordinary here.
I wouldn't necessarily call it out of the ordinary if I think just back to recent list day game where Primus, with what was a mammoth 100 at the moment, I believe it was versus Trinidad and Tobago Red Force as well, in that Super 50 match. It really took things by the scruff of the neck and played what was a very mature innings and a brutal innings at that as well. A different challenge on hand for him here today. 99 for 7.
He would have played here at the Oval on a number of occasions in the past, so you should have a pretty good idea of what to expect from the surface. Not for the first time, the ball is scooped over the head of that short mid wicket. They'd think for a moment of a second, and it's not there, and so they'll settle for just the 1 run. So Jordan is off the mark. And Jordan, I'm sure, would want to add some runs to his tally. Bowlers always like to do that. There's Primus again playing and just playing almost inside the line of the ball. And he already survived a strong appeal when it came off the pad. Slip, leg slip, forward short leg. They all go down, and here he is again in a little bit of a knot here right now, trying to survive this attack.
Yes.
And he just seems but I just know he's the kind of person who will just uncork a big one.
Works that away nicely. And they should look to come for two. The possibility of three exists, but no, Kevin Hodges quickly there. It certainly will be a task for him, but I'd like to think that he's going to play with a head here today. Yes, we do know at times he goes for what is that big swing, but I would like to think that he's going to calculate it in terms of when he goes for it, the type of delivery that he goes after as well, because we saw him go for that sweep before on a ball that was too full from Denver and narrowly missing the off stump on that occasion. It's just a case of picking the right deliveries, because yes, the pressure is on.
Going for a quick single here, a little bit of hesitation, and the return is a good one, but the Jordan is quick getting in there, and the single completed. It's now 103 for 7, so 132 away now, but only 3 wickets in the hatch.
Yeah, I think in terms of how things are situated currently for Barbados Pride, obviously this is not where they would have wanted to be at this time of the morning.
This one is hit, and just dropping in front of the man there, that short, straight mid-wicket there, really. He tried to tumble over Ryan John there, trying to get under it, but unable to do so. And it just trickles past him. They get a single, and Jordan doubles his tally. He goes to 2-6 to Primus as the over comes standing. It's 104 for 7.
Having been in that standing position at that short mid-wicket, no real momentum to get himself forward to get his hands under that one. Ryan John and the ball just dying in front of him. But a lot of questions being asked of the Barbados Pride, and they've not just found the answers this morning.
Would they factor in the rain at all? I mean, in your discussions with them, did they talk about the rain, the possibility of rain ruining the game at all?
Well, to be very honest, I didn't have that many discussions this morning. I was actually listening to some music instead. But no, I don't think that rain would have been a consideration for them, because rain brought the prospect of a draw, if that really came into the conversation for them, because in terms of a title race, they're out of it. And that means there's no real pressure on them as it relates to having to get these runs.
That's another beauty, just spinning away from the outside edge.
In terms of Barbados Pride and the outlook for them is a case of wanting to get these runs and wanting to finish the tournament on a high note. But had rain spoiled the party, it wouldn't have been a spoil for them. It would have spoiled for the Windwards. But obviously with Guyana winning now, that has thrown everything out of the window. So certainly rain was not a real consideration probably for the Barbados Pride. What the real consideration was, can we stand up and bat out there today?
Maybe bat out today, this could be out, and it's a simple one. He just spooned it to... It looked like Denver coming in there from that deepish cover position, and he has a simple catch to add to his input in this game. It's now 104 for 8 as Jordan goes for 2.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the questions would have been, can we bat out today? Will we bat out today? And the way things are shaping up, the way things are looking, that is not going to be the case. Akeem Jordan offering what is a very regulation catch there to Denver at cover. It's another wicket for Larry Edward, And the Volcanoes, they edge ever closer to victory here on day number 4, the final day of action in the West Indies Championship. And out strikes to the crease now, Jamel Warrican.
And you realize the two spinners have 6 wickets between them. And Demba has 2 catches, 2 of those catches off Edwards' bowling. So he has 3 of his own, and he has assisted on 2 of his, how do you call them, the spin twins?
I guess you can maybe offer them that title at the moment, especially how things are shaping up and looking for them. Certainly wrapping a web around the Barbados batters, but at the same time you have to look at some of the shots played and tell yourself that they probably weren't the best options. However, 104 for 8, staring down the barrel.
But Joel, I never got I never got your list of 5.
I skipped past that topic very quickly. I won't be heading there.
But I mean, here's the first ball, well played in the end by Warrican. But I was just really trying to draw on your experience of having seen, these teams, if not all of the teams so far, playing on missing this one, and who would have caught your eye. It doesn't have to be, like I always say, it doesn't have to be a name that everybody is talking about, but it might be somebody who you feel, if given a chance, could very well surprise people at the next level.
The reason I'll skip past that topic is because there were only 5 games, 10 innings, and I don't think that I could properly assess and judge somebody coming across this tournament and say, okay, you look like, Athenaeus, yes, because he's had a standout season, but I don't think it's been fair to some of the others in terms of the fact that they've not been able to really have a run, have a stretch. Beyond that, yes, we're looking at 5, but really and truly it's been part and part. 104 for 8, so you've had 2, you had 3. So you had that break. So you had some who might have had momentum, and that momentum shifted and went away after they went home and went away from the professional setups and the intensity of the setups, and then had to try and find back that rhythm, that momentum, and they just didn't find it. And all of a sudden they find themselves having what you would call to be a very average season. You had others who started the tournament probably down and then came back for 3 games and had it, and all of a sudden there's nothing to carry on. And as such way, I don't think that I can fairly say, okay, this person looks like they have it, this person looks like they don't have it. Yes, you can say that there were some false strokes here, there were some collapses here, that kind of stuff, and you can say, well, that is not what we want to see at the highest level. But I don't think that in terms of offering a fair assessment of the players on show that I can properly do that with 5 games.
We still have to give me a name other than Athenaeus.
I never give you the name of Athenaeus.
Well, I mean, I think everybody is of the view, okay, Athenaeus is the one name that stands out, but then who is below Athenaeus?
But that's the thing, right? He stood out because the others didn't necessarily perform. Had others performed, we would have said that Athenaeus stood out.
Right. But even if we just take it from a statistical perspective, this one peels off the outside edge. Even if you look at the stats, because at some point in time the selectors are going to sit down and look at the stats and say, X, Y, Z, who had 300 and something runs, who had 2 something, whatever it may be, whatever criteria they use. This time he's hitting it not as well as he would have liked. It's almost as if he hit the ground as well. He had that kind of hollow sound off the bat. But I'd really like to get your view. And nobody caught your eye at all, not even from the Barbados team. I mean, I'll tell you, I like McAllister. Yes, a slip can is just going through the hands of the man. He was actually falling down, trying to kind of get out of the way and still trying to take the catch, but it just eluded his grasp, and it went away.
Yeah, it just hit in the air there, pass, short leg, and those are the ones that certainly have to stick into the hand, probably going the wrong direction as well in terms of his body having to fight his way back around and get his hands around his entire body to try to get back. Is there no chance in the end?
The key there is to stay as still as possible. You don't want to move. The ball will find you. You just have to wait and try to pick up the flight of the ball as early as possible. And if he had stayed in his stance, that ball might have hit him in the chest. Because it's when he moved out of the way, now he had to try to reach back to try to get to the ball. And here's another ball just striking the pad, and Warwick not taking any chances, just kicking it away, and goes off for a little walk. 105 for 8 at the end of the over. He's yet to score. Primus is on 7. So now I told you I like McAllister, because what I've seen from McAllister, I suppose if they work with him in terms of helping him with his run-up, helping him in terms of his whole biomechanics, I think that he has the tools that if they put him in a proper program and they give him the exposure, who knows how he's going to take off, over time. And sometimes that is the little risk you have to take, and just put him in the environment and see if he can get the job done for you. Because here's a big shot, that's 4 runs. He got it into the gap, and 4 runs to Primus. But I'm saying sometimes if you put them in that environment, you don't know when that switch is going to go off in his head.
Yeah, we talked about picking the right deliveries for Rashawn Primus. He certainly picked the right one there to play that shot. Got a good connection with it. Dragged it, you would have to say, from just the wrong off stump, maybe just a touch outside. But got it into some vacant space just to the right of Ambrose, and he collects a boundary. Takes him into double figures now.
And this one is going to peel off that outside edge again, and they're going to help themselves to another easy single. So I'm really looking for some names, and I mean, there are players who I feel now. Who's going to select the weeks, the teams, those teams?
I have absolutely no
So
idea.
because I'll be interested to see what names they come up with, for those teams, and see, if a name like McAllister shows up. Because I feel if you're going to pick 2 teams out of the region from this tournament, then I can't see how he cannot be among 4 fast bowlers that you choose, or even 6 fast bowlers that you may choose from this tournament.
It certainly will be interesting to see the squads that are selected, because the squads that will be selected are the ones that they say, okay, these are the ones that
We can be looking at.
we have our eyes on, and then to not just the fact that the squad's being selected, because yes, they'll be selected from the guys that we've seen on show at the first class level, but must also factor in the guys who were playing at the test level but didn't play the first class games. 110 for 8 must also factor in maybe 1 or 2 who are on the fringes of test cricket, who are playing in the ODI side and that kind of stuff, but who aren't over at the IPL. So we're also talking about the fact that some of the guys that you might say maybe had a decentest season, and saying, well, if we are selecting from these guys on show, 1 or 2 of them still might not find their name in there, given that there are other names that we've not seen that must also be factored in to those sides as well. So it certainly will be interesting, 1, the criteria, and 2, the makeup of those squads as well, because that tells you who they're looking at for the future, because I believe that series goes beyond just looking at picking a squad for India. At least if that is the real thinking or the setup of West Indies cricket, it can't just be, okay, we're picking a side for India, then we come and we try to pick another side after that. So it's a case of who are we looking at for the next
10 years, because you're really picking players who you feel is coming back quickly for a second run. Primus doing well, because I really feel you're picking players who you feel in time would be good enough to play at that next level, and so this is your opportunity to kind of introduce them to that environment, put them in this environment where, I don't want to say a bubble, but you're putting them in this environment where you're basically telling them, look, we're looking at you. There's a short ball pulled away nicely, but he's only going to get a single, and because the man down there well positioned to do it. And I feel if you put them in that environment, and they all of a sudden they feel like they are players that are, I don't want to say under the microscope, but are being looked at, and players may take maybe a more serious approach to their games. This is the ball flicked away, and they're appealing for a catch. He's out, and Warwican is walking, and he didn't really debate it. So it's 113 for 9 now, and Warwican goes for no score.
That's the 4th wicket for Kenneth Dember. He's certainly spun the tide in his favour and in the favour of the Windward Islands Volcanoes this morning. Warwican on that particular occasion. Just looking to work it almost. And umpire Ram Danny said you got an inside edge onto that one. A good catch around the corner by Captain Hodge. And that spells the end of Warwican. And wicket number 9 for the Pride. 113 now for 9. And you would have to tell yourself that we are on the verge of what is going to be a well-deserved victory for the Windward Islands Volcanoes.
Well, yeah, and they should be happy. They should be proud of their effort. They didn't win the title, but second place is nothing to cry about in a sense. What it should tell them is that they're right there. You know, they're not too far off, and maybe with some stronger performances, they might be able to. They might have been the ones celebrating winning the title at this time. So a victory here, you end on a high, you go home, and you look at it and you basically talk about what is going to come next in terms of our own development, because we no longer have what I always call finishing school. So you could send your players off to England and they're going to play in all these different conditions, learn about bowling on a dry wicket, learn about bowling on a sticky dog, learn about bowling long spells, whatever. And so we no longer have that, or a batsman playing under those conditions. So now how do you expose them enough so that they could develop in a similar fashion? I always said we missed the trick when they closed the door in England. We could have used other countries, Australia to a lesser extent, maybe even South Africa when they came back in to the fold. But we never really looked at those options in any serious way. Just one or two. I think a couple of Bajan players played in South Africa, played club cricket there. He has a big hit and he's stumped almost as he went for the big hee-haw again. He faced 4 deliveries in this match. I don't think he's played any, and he has been swinging for the fences for everyone.
Well, almost a victory there for them. Denver looking for 5, and that won't be it. It's hit straight back over his head, and it'll be a single to get McAllister off the mark, and more importantly for the Barbados Pride, bring Rashawn Primus back into strike.
Yep. And that is the least aggressive swing he's had in both innings, and he actually connected with the ball this time.
Well, we're at the stage where Athenaeus knows that runs certainly don't matter here. Yes, they do matter, but when you look at 122 to win, there's certainly no need to have your guys on the boundary. Just 1 wicket needed now for victory. He's asked everybody to come in. 2 men around the bat. Athenaeus stands at slip. Denver looking for 5. And that is it. And that is 5 for Kenneth Denber. And that is the sweet taste of victory for the Windward Islands of Volcanoes. He is off to the races. They are off to the races. They'll be cheering in Roseau. They'll be cheering in Castries. They'll be cheering all up and down the island chain. And that is it. That is the end of what has been a fantastic season for them. A phenomenal season, one in which they started with 2 draws and have pulled things back. No, they have not won the championship, but have certainly won the smiles of many at home. Windward Islands Volcanoes, they win by 121 runs here on day number 4 of the West Indies Championship.
And what a way to end this particular match and to end your season with a comprehensive victory over the defending champions. And now you can celebrate all the hard work. You can see them hugging each other, high-fiving each other. This is a happy bunch. They know that they were underdogs coming into this tournament, but they certainly put their hands up. They fought through the difficult times, and here they are walking off in their final game with a solid victory. 121 runs over the Barbados Pride. I'm sure they'll take that every day of the week and smile. They should. They bowled out their position for 114 after they resumed this morning on 28 for 3. And they just kept taking wickets, and no big partnerships in there. 10 to Mosley, 35 to Drakes, 11 to Wickham, 17 to Dorridge, 15 to Primus in the end, and Jaya McAllister not out on 1. So it hasn't been a good end to the season for the Barbados Pride. They lost, 2 of their 3 games here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm sure they'll want to look at it again and see. I know they're missing some of their key players, some of their international stars are not around, but that's the story across the board for most teams. So you have to kind of ride with those punches. And as you look at it again, 114 is the final score, with a top score of 35 to Jonathan Drakes, who played well for his 35. He got a life early, but that is cricket. And outside of that, nobody else got past 20. 17 was the highest score. After that, to Shane Dorridge, the captain, 15 to Primus in the end. So it hasn't really been a splendid outing for the Barbados Pride. And, I know people would be looking at, I am of the opinion that I think there's enough material there to guys to work with. But like I say, there's work to be done, and they have to work. Because when you look at the way we were raving about the approach of Drakes, how he looked as he was batting there, how do you take that now and get him to be able to kick on whenever he comes to the crease? I'm not sure what his scores are like in domestic cricket in Barbados, but I'm sure he has made good scores in domestic cricket in Barbados. So now how do you help him transfer that into this level and feel just as comfortable, just at home, at batting against the regional teams or the international teams as he is batting against his club teams and what have you. Just look at the bowling figures here. Preston McSween, 11 overs, 2 maidens, 1 for 42. Kaveem Hodge, 1 over for just 1 run. Ryan John, 5 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 2, 1 wicket for 2 runs. Larry Edwards, the pick of the bowlers, 17 overs, 4 maidens, and or rather 3 wickets. He was the pick of the bowlers in the first innings, so he had 3 wickets in this one, 3 for 38. But it's Kenneth Demba who did the damage in the second innings. 13 overs, 3 maidens, 5 for 26. And certainly an amazing performance by him, and one that I'm sure he will remember for a very, very long time as he continues his development here in the regional cricket. So that is it, folks. The tournament is over. Trinidad and Tobago had their victory yesterday. Guyana won earlier this morning, and here just at lunchtime, it is victory to the Windward Islands Volcanoes. The scores again, 237 all out after they opted to bat on winning the toss. Barbados Pride 227, a 10-run advantage to the Windwards. And then they posted 225 in their second innings. And then they promptly dismiss the Bajans for 114 to win by 121 runs. So again, on behalf of Colin Murray and Joel, as the entire team, all the cameramen for all those amazing shots, our technical director for putting it all together, we went on the scorer as well. We want to thank you all for being with us and encourage you to stay with us and to follow West Indies cricket as we still have more to come with the week's trophy. That series is coming up in a short. And of course, we have a lot more to come on 360 TV as well. So I'm Ruskin Mark, thanking you so much as we leave you from the Queen's Park Oval with the news that the Windward Islands Volcanoes didn't win the series. That goes to Guyana, but they have defeated But Barbados here by 121 runs to sew up second place.
Bye.